real lives, and also it's an inspiration to real life people outside of sport, that you can, you can come through the worst of the worst and still get to the highest of the highs.
This is Jonathan Aguilar for Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Dave Coldwell. Dave, it's the morning after the night before, Queensberry 10, Matchroom 0. But yeah, incredible night. What did you make of it?
I absolutely loved it. It's what this sport's all about, 50-50 fights, well contested, hard fought, everybody giving everything that they've got, and a lot of banter along the way as well. Yeah, it's just a really, really good night of boxing. I really loved it.
I mean, let's start with obviously, the biggest fight. Obviously Deontay Wilder stopped by Zhilei Zhang. What did you think going into the fight, and were you surprised at all?
Well, that was one of the few that I got right. I think I got 2 out of my 5 right. Had a bit of a mare. Yeah, I always felt that Zhang, because I looked at Wilder in his last fight. It looked like he had absolutely no legs. I've always felt that the Fury trilogy has really taken a lot out of him. The third fight, especially, you're never the same after that. And Wilder's legs and reactions and everything about him from the third fight onwards, he's not been the same. The Parker fight, I felt as though he just, with that, when everyone's saying he's always got that right hand, he only got that right hand if he's got the legs to keep him sturdy. And I just never felt as though he did going into that fight. And I felt that Zhang had get him out of there, and that's what happened. It was sad to see. It's sad. Somebody like Deontay Wilder, I see people writing him off and everything, writing his achievements off. I think that's really unfair. We've always known that Wilder's not the most technically gifted boxer. You don't go to a Deontay Wilder fight to watch his setups and his boxing ability. You go to see when he throws that right hand, the reaction. And all the way through his career, he's always turned everybody's lights out with that right hand. Good fighters with good chins. And then it comes to a stage in somebody's career where, like the Fury trilogy, the third Fury fight, I don't believe either man are the same after fights like that. And then you're left with Wilder as without the right hand, without that danger. And then he is what he is. He's the end of his career. But you can't mock him for what this man's done. For when he got into the sport, the age he got into sport, the reason why he got into sport, his little girl, to provide a better life for his little girl. And you look at the excitement he's brought to the sport over the years. This man's, he's been electric. Boxing needs characters like that, where knockout merchants, exciting, loud personalities. He's brought a lot to the sport. So let's not just write off his achievements. Enjoy his achievements while they were there. And this is the stage of his career now, the last couple of fights and so on, where he's at the end. And it happens to all great fighters, I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder's are great, but in terms of excitement and one-punch knockout power, of our generation, he was the man that it was at one stage was the most feared heavyweight on the planet. So all right. The wind blew my phone. Yeah, got a bit of hurricane here. Yeah, so the excitement and everything it brought to the sport, you can't just discredit now, because at this stage of his career. So yeah, he's been great, but that's it was sad to see. It was sad to see him go out like that. But we see it often enough where fighters of that sort of style do go out in the same sort of fashion that they came in, sort of thing.
What was it? Do you think he's got to the stage in his career where he doesn't want to throw the right hand like he used to? Is there
maybe he can't?
Yeah,
maybe he can't, because that comes to fighters. As you start, I don't want to use the term shot fighters, but once it starts, once you start becoming shot, and you see things, but you can't pull the trigger. You just can't pull the trigger. Maybe, like you say, his mentality going in. Maybe he's made a lot of money. He's been there, done that, and then the Fury fights mentally as well as physically could have taken something out of him. It's just, or it can just be that stage of careers where fighters they just can't do it anymore.
I mean, he's lost 4 of his last 5, 2 of them to Fury, Zhang, Parker. These are top level operators. But do you feel like that is the last time we're going to see Wilder in a ring?
I would like to say so. I hope so.
Mm.
I hope so. I hope he's, he sounds like he's in a good place in his life. I hope he is, and I hope he's one of these guys that can ride up into some set and look at his career and go, do you know what? I was this. I did achieve that. I am happy.
Yeah, devastating. We'll never see the Joshua fight, but that is one of those things.
This is the thing about this sport. People like to let it marinate, or they want more money, and then the fights never happen, and that's the frustrating thing is. But the good thing is with what's happening right now, fights seem to be getting made, so it bodes well for the future.
And your assessment of Daniel Dubois' performance, it was a really fun heavyweight fight, but yeah, what did you think?
Do you know what? Daniel Dubois, even Willie Hutchinson, I'm a big fan of fighters that have gone through the mill, like faced the criticism, took it on board, made improvements, worked on things that maybe cost them earlier in their careers, and then come back to prove people that wrote them off wrong. Daniel Dubois after Joyce, after Usyk, you look at it and you're thinking he's not. When it gets tough, he's going to look for a way out. He showed that as a that you believe that mentally he's not quite as strong, but with Don Charles in his ear and how Don Charles has worked on the mental side of his game, I'm a big believer in the mental side of the game. You look at how he's developed there, and it was that Gerald Miller fight where I feel as though he proved to himself, and it's not about proving to us, it's proving to yourself. As a fighter, it's proving to yourself what you're capable of. It's no good other people rating you, but if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to make it. It doesn't really matter if other people think you're shit. As long as you don't think you're shit and you think you can come through no matter what, that's what counts. And Daniel Dubois is a perfect example. I think the Miller fight proved to himself that he can, he can grit through the tough moments. Because I'll tell you what, Hrgovic was bombing him with those right hands. Absolutely every right hand, bingo, and kept taking him. Got hurt a few times, kept taking him, and just had that grit, determination, and he's found the dog inside him. And we all knew he's got the ability, but there's always been the question marks about his mental toughness when it gets tough. Now you've got to say 2 fights back to back, he's gone through those moments, and now you've got to say he's somebody to be taken seriously. He's 26 years old. I always say it's not the defeats that it's not, that you don't get written off because of the defeats, or you shouldn't write yourself off for the defeats. It's how do you respond to it? If you respond in a positive manner, learn from it, improve on the frailties, the weaknesses, and take away the positives from the defeat, you develop as a fighter. And this is what Daniel Dubois has done. And he's put himself right up there. Outstanding performance. Hrgovic, there's always that way you think he's very, very upright and he's there to get nailed. But he started his conditioning, he started blowing, and Dubois just stuck with it, and he was outstanding. But it was a really good fight. It was another really, really good fight.
And just lastly on the card, Nick Ball finally gets the world title that he deserved. What did you make of that fight?
Brilliant fight. I was this way Ray Ford, where he stands with him right early and tries to match the strength. He was having to. That's Nick Ball's game. He didn't have to work to get into range really, and so he was able to fire his shots off. And although Ford was landing a hell of a lot of good body shots and a lot of good work, he was, he was fighting Ball's fight. Then, in the last part of the fight, second half of the fight, he started boxing more at his own range, and he was having a lot more success. And it was a really good fight. He started closing the gap. I actually thought, if I'm going to be honest, I actually thought, because a lot of punches weren't landing, a lot of punches Ford was coming up on, and I kind of thought, oh, maybe Ford could nick this. He could have nicked it by a round. But it's one of those fights where it could have gone either way. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really happy for Nick Ball, because I think he should have gone into the fight as a world champion. For me, he beat Vargas last time, and he should have been going in there as a world champion himself. So I'm happy for him, and I can see that he won the fight. I just thought on the night, I weren't sat there scoring it. I just wanted to enjoy the night as a fan. But I kind of thought, oh, I think Ford just nicked this on the cleaner work. But yeah, Nick Ball won the fight, and I can see why. And what I like about that is the scorecards were all realistic. Couple rounds this way, couple rounds that way. That you can see that in them kind of fights. We didn't have no stupid scorecard that was wide either way. Do you know what I mean? So it was, again, fantastic fight. What a fight! I'll tell you what, you wouldn't want to fight Nick Ball. He is one hard bastard. He really is, and he's relentless. And he's come up through. Again, another one that's not had the big, went a big Team GB fighter, big Olympian, and been groomed for superstardom. He's come through the hard way. Come through the smaller shows, fought his way through, and now he's on top of the world. And fair play to him.
Absolutely, Dave. Appreciate your time. Going to let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I know you've got a busy few.
I think Willie Hutchinson deserves a mention as well.
Yeah.
Properly. I mean, he's another one. I watched him against Lennox Clark. Everyone talked. I've not seen much of Willie Hutchinson, and everyone talked him up and said he was this, that. Everybody that I spoke to, and then obviously you watched him against Lennox Clark, and what happened there. Then I did hear that he went through a lot of personal problems, and for him to come through that again, I think these guys are they're showing the way for people that are out there that are going through hard times, difficult times. You don't have to be a fighter, you don't have to be a sportsman, just people that are going through tough times, to know that they can get through them. And I mean, from what I hear, Willie went through a lot, really, really deep shit. And for him to come through that, and then to have his big opportunity and to perform like he did, don't get me wrong, again, it was rock'em sock'em at some points in there, in the last part of the fights, Richard started putting it on him a little bit, but I thought he boxed brilliant, Willie did, and he showed us that, all that promise that everybody's been talking about, he actually showed us now on the wider platform, so people can actually see this kid is for real, and I think he's only going to grow from that. I've just watched his interview this morning, his post-fight interview, not in the ring, in the changing rooms, and you saw him with his family around him and his team around him, and you see what it meant to him. This is what's so good about this sport. It's not just about money. It's not just about financially changing people's lives. It can be a hell of a lot deeper about than just the finances and the carrying of the belts. These are people's dreams and that they started off at when they were young kids. Kids that you see at school now, just wandering along with the backpacks. Little kids in junior school, and these kids are boxing from that, and they've got these aspirations, and they're looking at people that are in the limelight now, wanting to chase that dream, and you're watching them follow the path, and they're growing up, and they're chasing dreams, and then life hits them hard, and almost completely derails life, not just boxing, and yet you can still find a way back. I've just got loads of admiration for people like that, regardless of when we pick fights and we pick who we think is going to win. We can only go on what we've seen before, and if you've not seen, you don't know what people are capable of in the gyms. You only hear what people say, but you look at when they fought, maybe, and it's picking fights beforehand. It's all banter. It's all, you know, people's opinions. It's subjective. But when you see the stories of these fighters and they prove you wrong, or they prove themselves right, I love that stuff. I love that stuff because it's good to see, because it's real lives, and also it's an inspiration to real life people outside of sport, that you can, you know, you can come through the worst of the worst and still get to the highest of the highs. So yeah, I just wanted to say that about Willie Hutchinson as well. But in terms of everybody on the show, I thought were fantastic. Yeah, regardless to the banter between Matchroom and Queensberry, I loved it. The post-fight banter has been brilliant. You know, it's a really, really good spot for boxing. I think it's exciting, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. I thought the 5 versus 5 concept was brilliant as well, and like you say, great that we're getting these fights. Just a final word on, you know, what you've got coming up. Tell the fans what's in the pipeline.
Next up, Dan Howard. Really excited about Dan Howard. Outstanding Channel 5 prospects at the moment with Wasserman. He's boxing June 14th. I've also got on the same bill the debut of Ellis Price. Really excited about that one as well. And then on June the 28th, we have got in Belfast with Queensberry, we've got Stephen Cairns' first fight as a Queensberry fighter. So I'm looking forward to those.
Brilliant. Busy June ahead. Dave, appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon.
Nice one, mate. Take it easy.